Yeah, I think it definitely depends on kind of where you are with your own self perception, your self esteem. Because for a lot of folks who are diagnosed with different forms of neurodivergence, sometimes it can be a relief. It can be an answer to, why you've done certain things the way you have or processed them a certain way.
Mm,
But for others, like for me, when I was in my journey, I was at, a really low point in my own self-esteem. I was young, I was 14 years old. And
mm,
it also depends on, the psychiatrists themselves and how they understand different stigmas and stereotypes of neurodivergence. So, in my experience, it was kind of difficult because the way that my psychiatrist told me about this was not ideal for a 14-year-old girl to hear.
mm,
It was very much like this idea of I am a girl with the brain of a boy, which has a bunch of other gender stuff just in there as well. And
mhm,
I think that many of the examples and representation that were pulled in to explain this were very limited examples of what autism looked like and was. It
mhm.
was very much like this, type of solitary genius savant person that can't connect with people properly. And I thought for a while I had to fit into that mold. So for me, the diagnosis was a source of shame for a while because I wasn't equipped with the right representation, the right sort of like stigmas that were broken, and the right tools.
Yeah. I had a post on LinkedIn that I was writing, and it was just about all the things that schools do, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, but just labeling students for better or worse, right?
Yeah.
And then what that does to a student. So thank you, for sharing a bit of your story. You mentioned there in your answer, right, in our conversation, breaking out of the mold. So what helped? Like, what worked for you after that moment? And then you were thinking, like, all right, well, I don't know, maybe that's right, like breaking out of the mold. What did you do?
Yeah. So I would say that moment took like 6 years, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it's I mean, I think neurodivergence also is this ongoing journey. It's never something that I think that especially for a lot of overachievers, it's like I can win this. I can map this out. I can figure out a way to solve any like difficult or awkward situation so that I am never hurt again, or so that I am not put at a disadvantage because of the way that folks see neurodivergence again. And the reality is that like it's just a lifelong thing, but those first 6 years were definitely difficult. After diagnosis, I was very much in this mindset of, yeah, oh, I have to fit into this mold. I am not someone that fits into that mold. And I think that for me, I was so scared of failure and I didn't think that connection was worth any type of risk. So I
Mm,
really just cut myself off from people and convinced myself that if I keep my head down, if I just stick to being the best student I can without connecting with anyone else, without worrying about friendships or anything, then yeah, I'd be fine. And very much I was not fine because I didn't have, the actual like relationships with my friends in school that I could depend on. I didn't have much of a community. And so for me, I fell into a lot of mental health difficulties and issues. I had depression, anxiety, just like plummeted self-esteem, and I hid my
mm,
diagnosis from the ages of 14 to almost 21 years old because I was just so scared that people would treat me differently.
mhm. What do
Yeah.
you mean by hid? Like from peers and from friends, or
Yeah, it was from everyone. It was
Mm,
really, yeah, from peers, from friends. I would like a lot of kids just thought I was weird and I like just kind of let them have that label cuz it was better than being autistic at the time. I was just so scared that and I masked very heavily. Like I was constantly masking,
mhm,
and what that resulted in, and a lot of students still suffer from this, is they try to mask in order to please people, in order to be accepted, to fit in. And then as soon as they get home, they are just like a pile of stress and anxiety and just like frustration. And I would be lashing out at my poor mom every time I got home because
mm,
I had suppressed so much. And I think what really helped me turn a corner was a couple of things. I think that I didn't expect for my perception of like I need to be fixed to change. But when I developed this like love for neuroscience and just learning about the brain, and originally I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go into neuroscience. I love it, but also maybe I can fix my brain like this and then I don't have to feel pain again.
Mm.
Because I will be quote unquote normal, even though that doesn't exist. And so when I went into neuroscience, I became a researcher, I got published. And throughout that time, I realized that, my quirks, the things that people would label as weird were actually things that my colleagues and my friends that I formed at the time really enjoyed about me. And I felt more vulnerable. I felt like I can connect with people. It's just in a very different way.
Mm, mm.
So I started doing that work. And then because my interests were accepted, I started sharing them. My friends started sharing them with me. And that's how I really got into fandom. Like I got into things like Doctor Who and Star Wars and all of
Yeah.
these things that I thought I had to keep hidden because they were signifiers being weird. And then through that, I was starting to find like pieces of my identity in the media that I loved. And I think that what was so effective about this media was that I could find autistic traits in these characters without autism being their whole story and like the
Mm.
only thing they're identified by. And I think that being autistic and ADHD, it's so important to develop this mindset of like, it is part of my identity and part of who I am. It is not all of who I am. And it's not something that needs to be fixed. And I think that's what I really learned by finding my people and finding identity through representation.